What up? What up? What up? Good morning, everybody. Welcome in to the right side of campus. We're live. It's 10 o'clock on a Thursday, January 18th, 2018. I'm your host, as always, the big man on campus, here getting ready for a big weekend in NFL, college hoops, a lot going on. Donnie Rightside joins me. Donnie, my co-host. Um, how you doing today?
Yeah, doing good, man. Thursday, getting ready for this weekend. Hopefully these temperatures warm up in the Northeast, which looks like they're going to do. But a lot of interesting topics to talk about. We'll set you up for Sunday as usual. A lot of college basketball talk today. A lot of interesting, Jeff, as you see the bottom morning headlines here, that we're going to go over from real life situations that Washington State is facing right now to the secretive Bill Belichick and what actually happened with Tom Brady and the New England Patriots at practice.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. As always, hit the like button, comment on the chat box. We'll try to get to as many comments as we can. Also, please do us a favor if you're on Twitter, retweet the show, retweet all the stuff that SBR has that comes out. It allows it to get to people may not see it that we don't follow. So that's always a help. And also, Donnie, little housekeeping. Make sure you're checking out Sportsbook Review, SBRpicks.com. SBR Picks is really kind of the thoroughfare of the website. You go on there, you can get certain articles, all sorts of articles, NHL, NBA, the lead article, Celtics to finish season sweep, the Sixers. That's a big game tonight on national TV for our hoops team. You get the link to the show. I get the link to the schedule for today. What you'll see on SBR all day. A lot of college hoops talk, tennis. You get the Australian Open going. Even baseball talk. How about that? Literally everything you need right at your fingertips. And if you look up at the top, links to all the different things SBR has for you. Links to how to find the best sports book and who's offering the best bonuses all the time, Donnie. You get it all the time. I get it all the time. Where can I go? What book do I use? Go to the best sportsbook page. They'll rate it for you, let you know where to go. SBR odds, the best odds service in the business. And then contests. I mean, go play contests, earn money, points, all sorts of goodies and stuff. A lot to do at SBRpicks.com. Donnie, we jump into the show today. Um, Here on a Thursday. We start out with some sad news out of Pullman, Washington. A story that we weren't able to talk about yesterday because we had the roundtable, but Tuesday night, a very sad story. Um, and I know it caught everyone that knows college football, follows this program. Tyler Alinsky, quarterback for Washington State, found dead in his apartment. It's ruled an apparent suicide. You and I were just talking about this before the show. We all have our own lives. We all do our own things. Um, a kid seemingly with everything in front of him. He had success so far. He was young. He was good looking. He was popular. He was really everything you look for. Not that any of that really matters, but he seemed like a happy guy. He was in good positions, but you never really know what someone's going on has something going on. And you look at what his family even said. I mean, they're shocked and they can't believe it. I mean, it's such a sad story. A young person who dies, 21 years old, um, who had a ton of success and probably would have had a lot more of it too.
Yeah, no, and some things you never would guess would happen, and we all have our demons. When the door closes and the outside world's not allowed to see, a lot of people go through things you never would suspect doing. I mean, you're right, Jeff. You're talking about a guy that just coming into his own. Going to take over for Luke Falk. Have a couple big wins this year on top of the world, playing quarterback in a system that's not a wing T, where you are actually the superstar of the team. You're going to throw the ball 50 times. You're going to have arcade numbers out there. The future is bright for you there, and then it comes up with this. I didn't, get into the background of the story, like what, if the suicide note was left or, what was read in that situation. But it's one of those things where you never suspect some of these things. Some things you just can't hide. And you're right. Looking at it from a parent's perspective, I'm a parent. Something that will come so far out of left field. Usually the family, the friends are the first to know. But some people, Jeff, keep stuff buried so dark, so deep inside of them, they don't even let their best friends or family even know what's going on. Complete shock to the community coming right out of nowhere, and a young kid as well, man.
Yeah, very sad. We'll never know really what was going on, but you mentioned success this year. I mean, won the bowl game. had some big wins. One that one against Washington State or Boise State was a big one. And I mean, you have to think down the road. I mean, that system, that group, maybe the NFL. I mean, the kid was still very young. But Donnie, you look at according to the national data on campus suicide and depression, 1 out of every 12 college students makes a suicide plan, and 7.5 students per 100,000 kill themselves. That's a lot. I mean, that's way too many. I mean, there shouldn't be any. What a shame. Hopefully, his parents find some sort of closure at some point. A very sad story, and a program that I've always had a nice soft spot for Washington State. I like Mike Leach. He's a leader that will get them through this, but a very, very sad story. We do though welcome all the people in here. Um, and a lot of people are talking about it. Yeah, mental health is an illness. We need to recognize that. That's a huge mental health is a big problem in this country. We need to deal with and understand and try to get past and help people that have issues with it. Um, we move on. Tom Brady, Donnie, we're starting to get some interesting news about TB12, the GOAT, as they call him. He injures his throwing hand. His throwing hand. That's not good. Ahead of the clash with the Jags. I know you have some conspiracy theories, Donnie. What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean,
You got
what's going on here, Jeff? Like, and it came out right around the time yesterday. I missed it a little bit, but we were doing the betcast, and after I start reading, you scroll through Twitter. What'd you miss the last hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours on Twitter? And I see the injury information pop up. It's like, hey, went in for hand X-rays during practice, or it wasn't even that. It was like that vague medical statement, like, Tom Brady's not going to speak today because he's with our medical doctors. And immediately think at New England, like they're pulling some scam. Maybe he's just going for like a wellness check, or he had a little bit of cramping in his calf. They want to give him an
or he just
IV real
doesn't want
quick
to
or something
speak,
like that.
maybe.
Yeah, or just he had Tom and Giselle had to fly up to or fly down to New York City for some fashion show. They just wanted to try to get out of it and make up some rumor so he doesn't get fined in that situation. Then you start hearing where Jeff he goes in and he has a X-ray just for precautionary reasons. Then you unpeel the layers and go deeper, and people close to Tom say he should be ready by Sunday. It really shouldn't be a factor. And then you hear people saying, well, he ran into somebody and he cut his finger. And then you hear that he might have had a dislocation that broke through the skin. And then you hear like, oh, it's no big deal. What? I mean, this is typical New England nonsense, Jeff. And I bring it back a couple years ago. I forget who the guy was. I think it might have been Dan Coppin, maybe about a decade ago, Jeff. Broke his leg in a football game, almost a compound fracture, had surgery that night. And the following week, Bill Belichick listed him, Jeff, as questionable for the next week's football game.
Yeah, listen, I'm sure he'll be out there, but eh, again, I mean, Tom Brady's 40 years old. And look, I don't think I think it's something a little bit more. I mean, I don't think it had anything to do with he just wanted to get out of it. When it seems like when they mention something, it's something to take to get wind of and think about. But again, I mean, it could be something very minor. Uh, he was run into
Yeah, it was
accidentally.
almost like Jeff. Yeah, what they're saying, Jeff, is you know how you let's just say you're going to run a play. It's a play action pass. Maybe the running back gets too close to you. You don't think he's going to be there. You turn around, you're going to hand the football off, and he's right there and drills you, like jams it into you. So, I mean, that's probably
Yeah,
what happened there. What I'm anticipating.
I'm sure that guy will be kicked off the team over the next day or two. Uh, It's brutal. So we'll see. We'll follow this. It's Thursday, so obviously they're going to go out there and practice again today. We'll see what we hear. What if it's like a broken hand and he can't play?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be like you're right, Jeff. When you're looking, you see the lines bouncing back, went to 8.5 now. It was down from that high peak of about 9.5. You're going to get a lot. I mean, yeah, the news breaks yesterday and say, oh, well, let's just see what happens. Like, let it be known today that Tom Brady just sat out today for precautionary reasons. And you're gonna have that shitstorm in New England where the media is gonna descend and it's gonna be like the Zapruder film, Jeff, trying to figure out like, where did it happen? Let's see if we can get somebody who, hey, look, I was watching from 6 practice fields over, and I think here's what I saw. You're gonna get ready for all that stuff. And then he's gonna come out Sunday and throw for 6 touchdowns and 450 yards.
Speaking of G's, Donnie, we have a Minnesota travel agent who I actually watched this story, and I want to let everyone know what it basically was about. Basically, the Minnesota local news, I believe it was a Fox affiliate, did basically a piece on. There's a company in Minnesota that basically they have this program where you pay $700. They basically take you from Minnesota to Philadelphia, give you a car from the airport to the stadium. Then once the game's over, they get you back to the airport and back to Minnesota all in 24 hours. So basically, you don't have to stay in Philadelphia because Philadelphia is so bad, they don't even want to stay in Philadelphia. So then they have this guy come on, some travel agent guy, that's basically saying that if you're going to come to Philadelphia and Minnesota loses, it'd be in your best interest to cover up colors, basically like you're a gang member. It basically is similar to saying, like, if you're a Crip, you don't wear blue into the red neighborhood because Philadelphia fans basically are gang members. They'll beat you up, they'll hurt you, they'll do everything in their power to make you feel pain. And while I do agree with some of the things he said, it was a little dramatic, Donnie. I mean, and it didn't help your cause either. You're trying to sell $700 tickets to go watch the Minnesota Vikings play. By the way, Donnie, that doesn't include your ticket to the game. You got to go find your own ticket. So you're basically spending $1,200 probably on a 24-hour bender trip to Philadelphia, and then on top of everything, to sell that ticket, you're going to tell everyone that. And I'm sure listen, I'm not saying people in Minnesota are soft or anything, but it probably is not the best thing to tell people that you're trying to sell the tickets to. But to anyone that's curious, it's not that bad. Okay, it'll be bad probably for you, but it won't be too bad.
Look, yeah, yeah. I mean, and the common denominator here is, look, you're going to get ribbed a little bit, but you expect that as opposing fan. If I'm an Eagles fan, I used to go down to I've seen Eagles at Redskins. You get a little bit of ribbing there, but it's good fun and good natured. Usually, the one thing you don't want to do, Jeff, let's just say, all right, kickoff and 6-play drive, 54 yards, and Minnesota scores a touchdown. Maybe you and your buddy in the upper deck don't want to do the skull chant for like, a minute and a half after the touchdown to celebrate it. But otherwise, it's not the end of the world unless you don't, to say, Jeff, don't provoke the natives. You know what I mean? Don't go in there and like, hey, we're here to stay. Maybe not that way, Jeff.
No, but I will say this. I've noticed from different fan bases, even in the regular season, particularly night games, I've noticed if you're a fan of another team, you're going to get made fun of. They're going to harass you. They're going to call you an asshole. They're going to say shit to you. This game's probably going to be a little bit worse just because it is a playoff game and it is, do or die, and it is, a Sunday night. But listen, I don't think you're going to have to worry about your livelihood. I mean, your life. But we'll see. But no, Philadelphia fans are not gang members. Maybe some are, but most aren't. Good point here by David Hutton. What's so great in Minnesota that you'd want to rush back there? Good point. I'm not really sure. Just be respectful. It's common sense. Right. Agreed. Let's move on. Let's get into little college hoops. We'll deal Friday, Donnie. Football Friday. Plenty of football talk. We'll preview both games. Give our picks out.
Football Friday returns in full force tomorrow. If you want to tune in to tomorrow's Rightside of Campus, get ready because basically you're going to see an Eagles pep rally. So be ready for that.
Yeah. You have to be respectful at other teams' stadium. I wear my Pats gear at MetLife and catch a lot of flack. It comes with the territory. Just don't talk shit.
He's right.
Right, exactly. Yeah, right.
People pay. I mean, I see like in my area, they pass by with the, Atlanta Falcons stuff. I'm telling you right now, I've been to hundreds of games, either at Veterans Stadium or Lincoln Financial Field. The only fans that get on Eagles fans' nerves are these fans right here. Let's just say you're watching the football game, and I'm going to point right to New York Giant fans, Jeff. You're watching the football game. It's kickoff. It's the first drive. And in they come like 5 or 6 deep into their seats. And they make it known that they're coming into their seats. And they get ribbing. But they try to give the ribbing back, Jeff, before even getting to their seats. Those are the fans that we have a problem with, Jeff.
I got to admit, I would do the same. I have done the same thing. I've been to Washington. Walk into the stadium. Yo, what's up? I'm in your section here, boys. Know what's up. And then look, if they play bad, I get ribbing. If Washington plays bad, I give them ribbing. Washington fans are pretty rude though. They'll be like, "Look, why don't you come out in the parking lot? We'll talk after the game. Shut the fuck up." But hey, you got to take it. If you're going to give it out, you got to take it. Let's move on. Basketball, college hoops. Move it down, Wanma. Thanks, buddy. Wanma doing his thing. Wanma, how are you doing this morning? Good.
Yep.
Good,
He's
good.
back relaxing.
There he is. He said good, good. Juan, we got to get you on the. I know various shows are trying to get it back in the air. Juan's good today. Good to hear. We move it down. Little college hoops here. We did the betcast, Donnie, last night. SMU, big win for the Mustangs. I didn't think they had it in them. I did not think this team was good enough on the road to go into Wichita. But we watched the game, Donnie. I mean, Wichita was. I think we have to just come to the realization that they're just not a very good defensive team. They didn't play well at all defensively. Way too many open shots. This has been a problem with this team for a lot of the year. Greg Marshall's mentioned it. I'd imagine, Donnie, that over the next day you'll hear Greg Marshall. He may have even done it last night. I didn't ever end up reading his post-game comments, but I'd imagine he'll call this team out for that performance. They didn't play well at home.
No, just I mean, shaky the whole time. I mean, it's a very unlike Wichita performance. You can say, hey, Wichita lost the game, 91-89. It was a clean flowing game. Both teams were making jumpers, but that's not a clean offense. You're used to Wichita playing sound defense out there, especially at home, and being a very fluent offense, getting open jumpers. They couldn't hit, the side of a barn in the first half, Jeff. Through almost 3/4 of the first half, couldn't make a three-pointer to save their life. Every time Wichita made a run, Jeff, we saw, the 46-45s, the 51-49s. It seemed to me that SMU just had that answer, that fadeaway three, that extra rebound. And all of a sudden, before you could blink, we joked a couple times. We were messing around the betcast, going over Twitter stuff and having fun with the Minnesota Vikings. It's a 2-point game. I'd look up a minute later, Jeff. It's back up to a 7-point game. SMU had the answer. And the answer last night, Jeff, was Shake Milton. 33 points in that game, dominated. And that's what they needed, SMU. After a 7-day break, they came to play last night.
No, Shake's a great player and had a big game. And that's the thing at Donnie in basketball. When, it's not so much like if you're down 10 and you come back, if you don't take the lead, it really doesn't mean anything. And, it seemed like Wichita just could never get up over the hump and take the lead last night. 27 straight wins for them last night. Not anymore. That is snapped. Greg Marsh, just go back to the drawing board a little bit because they have some issues on the defensive end. Arizona, Donnie, a nice bounce back for them. They go into Cal and pound the Golden Bears. Cal is really bad. I mean, they are really, really, really bad. I mean, I don't, losing to Arizona is not a big deal, but I looked into a lot more into what they do. They've had a horrible season, man. I mean, what a drop off. But hey, I mean, that's what happens when you lose your coach and 4 different players. Arizona gets a big 79-58 win. Arizona's had a weird year, Donnie. I mean, they've looked really good. I mean, then they had that stretch right at the beginning of the year where, they're getting blown out, not playing well defensively. Come back, win 9 or 10 in a row, lose at Colorado. They get called out by a Sean Miller saying he doesn't know how to coach this team. And they come out and have another poor performance against Oregon State. They scoot one by against Oregon. Nice get right game, Donnie, here against California. I had a little play on the 13 here. Arizona rolled in this one.
No, you're right about that. And also, Jeff, you get back to the Cal point. I mean, you said this is Cal. Last year, Cal had talent and was just abysmal on the eyes to watch. And now you're watching them this year, Jeff, without that talent and equally as bad. I don't know where it gets for the Cal, but I mean, Jason Kidd's not coming back to save this, university at this point right now. So where their future is in the Pac-12, they better get it figured out. It's a great school. You can recruit there, great educational. They're just in a downtrodden program right now. And last year, I remember betting their games and watching the games, the Ivan Robs of the world. They couldn't get out of their own way last year. I can only imagine what they're doing this year.
Yeah, I know they really they ended up making the tournament. They had a horrible performance in the NIT against Bakersfield, if you remember. Just a dreadful show at home. I mean, they just couldn't score. That was Cal. Now this year, it's the same issue. Can't score. This year, though, defensively, they're much worse. I mean, they're in the 200s defensively. Last year, they were in the top 30. So that's a big difference. And with Donnie, here's the thing on Cal. Here's what Cal will get blown out. If you can defensive rebound, you'll blow Cal out because their only hope is hitting the glass. They're actually top 20 in the country in offensive rebounds. If you can limit that, you'll blow them out. They're just not very good. Donnie,
No.
we continue our masquerade about you have to stop betting when it looks too good to be true. I mean, it's been evident. You look at the last 5 games. Okay, you go back to Tuesday night, Kentucky and Oklahoma, two stone cold um, trap games. I mean, the whole world is on them. The line's going the opposite way. Both those games lose. Then last night, you know, you look at what these games went with. Alabama, Auburn was a huge public side. Said it all day. It just didn't make any sense.
And
Then
then
Colin
Bama said, and
Sexton
then
goes
before the
out.
game, yeah, exactly. 5 minutes
I mean,
before the game, your best player is out. Oh my God, what a steal!
it didn't matter though. The decision was already made. Bama was winning the game. It's just how those games go. It doesn't matter who plays. I've made that comment before. In games like that, you can take. I mean, Alabama's almost won with 3 players. What's having 1 or 2 out going to do? The game had already kind of been decided. It seems like Texas Tech was another one. So a lot of people on the Red Raiders last night. That Texas group, man, they are playing together right now, man. They are
Yeah.
playing for that
Allen.
kid that went out with cancer. They're playing for the kid. Bamba is a great player. They're well coached. Um, it's tough to go into Texas and win. And then
You know, the one
Georgetown. I mean,
last
how
night,
many
even a
people?
close one last night, Jeff. Before we get to Georgetown, Northwestern Ohio State. That game was what 3-4 by the time it closed game time there, and even that one, which was decidedly heavily Ohio State. Look at that one came right down to the wire. I believe Ohio State ended up winning the game, making a couple free throws to get it to 5. So those ones where that team's going on the road, the much better team, low level spread, not moving much. You're going to get a competitive game usually out of that home team there, Jeff. Go ahead with Georgetown there.
It's generally the ranked team against the non-ranked team, and the non-ranked teams usually play. But it's not always that. It's sometimes just. I mean, when you have a big public dog like Georgetown, I heard a lot of people on Georgetown last night. I mean, you can step in front of Villanova, but I mean, it's not the best idea. Villanova's just rolling. I mean, that's what they do. Another one last night. This was a pretty good public favorite, but it was the ranked against non-ranked Creighton. I mean, Creighton crushed
Yeah.
um, Seton
Oh,
Hall last night. So yeah, I mean, just try to think about things. When you're betting, does this look too easy? Sometimes the writing could be on the wall with some of these games. Now, I'm not saying this means anything in the CAA or the Big Sky. But I'm telling you, in the major 5 conferences, sometimes this stuff can hold pretty good weight. So we'll see if there's any out there tonight. Donnie, it's kind of that false flag thing. Remember baseball, false flags?
yeah, you're right. No, you're right. You
Uh,
bring up a good point there when you're pointing to the Power Five conferences as opposed to like the CAA or the Metro Atlantic or the MAC. Because the one thing you have to know about is the team that's home, even though they're not as quote unquote talented, those kids are getting big time recruits like the Kansas States. I mean, they're not left out in the cold just getting their scraps with one star type players. The reason why they're in that is because they have a couple kids that can fire at home, and you see it all the time. It's a good point.
yeah, no, exactly. And like you have a line tonight, Donnie, for instance, like Virginia, they're heading on the road to take on Georgia Tech. Notice the line's 8. It's not like 1.
Yeah.
You know, 8 makes
Same thing
sense.
with
It's
the
the line.
Villanova game last night. What 13 and a half, 14 points? Yeah, they're the games that you try to isolate that look. They're basically saying like, let me just hold this carrot in front of you. I'm going to tell you all Kentucky has to win by is 1 point, and you're going to get a push or a cover technically there. Those are the carrot games. The carrot games aren't. Let me see if Georgetown can hang around last night because it's evident that Georgetown can't beat Villanova. But the other games, they're trying to get you into that mindset saying, all I need is Kentucky to win tonight. Where do I sign up? And there you go.
Mhm. And it's like, how many people will look at like Virginia tonight and say, well, I mean, 8 points, that's a lot of points. And we're getting Georgia Tech at home. I mean, they could play good defense too. I mean, that's like
Yeah.
first to 50 wins. All I need is if I score 43 points, I'm going to cover. Yeah, that's what people will maybe say in that game. But again, I mean, take it easy. Virginia's pretty damn good on defense. Let's move into the breakdowns, Donnie. Before we do that, a couple comments here. It happens in small conferences too. Okay, well, maybe to you it does. I don't know that I see it as evident. Um,
Yeah, because and
Texas
you also
Arlington
took
on
it
the
with those little conferences. Those little conferences, Jeff. The deciphering point here for us is you want to look at the heavy betting advantages. A lot more people, Jeff, are going to bet an Ohio State basketball game than bet like a Metro or a MAC game. So when you have all that public support on the one side that you're getting, those are
right.
the easier games to track. We're not saying it never happens in the lower level. It's just easier to spot when you're using those Power Five conferences because the simple fact more people bet those games.
Right, and those little yeah, the little conferences, there's just not enough action that for that
Yes,
those
correct.
games. UT Arlington's road struggles are because they're not any good on the road. I mean that's been a big problem. I mean they've had 4 or 5 different games where they have not shown up on the road. But we'll see. We'll keep abreast of it. Uh, Donnie, let's get into the breakdowns. What do we got for tonight on the card? This is my favorite night to bet each week. It's the mid-major conference night. You know, CAA, Big Sky, uh, West Coast Conference, all sorts of stuff. What are we doing tonight, Donnie? Right side.
Yeah, we'll keep it right on the tagline at the bottom as opposed to go in order of time. Jeff, 559, 560. Let's go out west here. St. Mary's, California, as you know, versus Gonzaga. The year-to-year battle struggle. These two teams play twice a year. Always an interesting matchup because of the styles make fights. One team we know, St. Mary's, Jeff, very heady, very smart. Seems like they have 26-year-old, Australian players left and right on this basketball team going up against Gonzaga. Only 700 tickets, Jeff, have been tracked so far. 59% of those tickets, Jeff, are going to bounce back on the home team here. Gonzaga opening up on that line, Jeff. Pinnacle, 7.5. Chris, 7.5. Line sitting at 7 to 7.5 all the way across the board. Not much line movement here, Jeff. The one thing that we like to say, styles make fights. If you like efficient offense, there's no more efficient than St. Mary's out there. But Gonzaga, no slouch in that factor either way. Who's going to be knocking down their open jump shots? We do know that St. Mary's is a little bit susceptible to the 2-point shot. So if you can ground and pound them low, you're going to be able to score points on this. But if you're going to watch St. Mary's, limited possessions is the key. If you're Gonzaga, take care of the basketball, make your shots here, Jeff. What are you looking at from this betting angle here with Gonzaga and St. Mary's?
Yeah, I mean, really, since Mark Few took over, they've owned St. Mary's. I mean, I think Mark Few's lost like twice in his career. Maybe, I mean, maybe only once. The numbers I'm looking at go back to '97, but uh, yeah, I mean, listen, they just own St. Mary's. But I will say, if they're going to win, maybe it's this year. Jock Landale's a hell of a player. He doesn't have to deal with Shemek Karnowski or
Yeah.
Demontis Sabonis or Zach Collins. I'm not saying John Williams and Tilly are any less better, but you get a little bit of a reprieve here. But it's hard for me to take St. Mary's. They just don't have a ton of success against Gonzaga, and it's hard for me to put and believe in St. Mary's with the schedule they play compared to the schedule that Gonzaga plays. We can vilify Gonzaga all we want. We saw that last year. Vilifying them because they don't play anybody, but truth of the matter is Gonzaga plays a very good, very tough out of conference schedule. They challenge themselves against Florida, against all these different teams at a really high level, and they do pretty well against them as well. They're very good at the kennel. I mean, that's something that we know. I mean, they're 10-0 this year. They've also won 19 of 21 against St. Mary's at home. So it's not really something I'm looking. But these two teams, as you mentioned, Donnie, are very efficient. But for me, I think the defense is going to win this basketball game, and Gonzaga's been absolutely fantastic lately defensively. I mean, they're giving up only 58 points a game in conference. Now, again, this is a huge discrepancy just because other than Gonzaga and St. Mary's, there just aren't a lot of good teams in this conference. So when you're giving up 58 points a game over the last 5, that's really impressive. But we might have to look at the competition there. But I think Gonzaga has a huge rebounding advantage in this game. I just think they're the better overall basketball team. I think they'll pull away towards the end and win this one. I don't know, 90-83, 90-81, something like that. It'll be close to the number, but I would bet on Gonzaga would cover this over St. Mary's. I'm not sure it'll be on my card, but it's always a great game to watch. It's really going to be about who makes those less mistakes late in the game. But you look at St. Mary's schedule, toughest team they played. I don't know. Who would it be? I guess it'd be Georgia. I mean, that's their toughest game. Gonzaga, I mean, they're playing some really good competition. The likes of Florida or Ohio State, who by the way, Donnie, they beat Ohio State by uh,
Hmm.
27 points. I mean,
No.
Villanova, Creighton. I mean, that's the caliber. San Diego State. That's the caliber team that San Diego or Gonzaga's playing. Texas beat the Longhorns. This is a great schedule. I just think games like those will be big in games like this tonight. I can't really go anyway but Gonzaga here.
All right, let's keep it moving down the list there, Jeff. Middle Tennessee State Marshall. What does that say? John Elmore and Giddy Potts are going to step up to the plate here in this ball game. 5:35, 5:36 in the rotation. 8 p.m. tip-off Eastern time. Not that many tickets have been tracked offshore so far. Only about 250 of them, Jeff. But of those tickets early, 76% are going to back Middle Tennessee State here on the road over Marshall. If we take a look at line openers, Jeff, Pinnacle -3, Chris -2.5. That line now sits roughly 3.5 across the board. Over under this one opened up at 160, now sitting at 159, 160 across the board, Jeff. Middle Tennessee State, Marshall here. Both of these teams can light it up. What are we anticipating here?
Well, here's what we're anticipating. One thing is, other than the West Coast Conference teams that I just mentioned, Middle Tennessee might be the best mid-major team that we have. Very good, very high level, challenged themselves. I mean, they beat Donnie this year, three straight SEC team opponents. That's pretty impressive. Um, listen, Marshall can't defend. I mean, they're awful on the defensive end. I mean, opponents over 82 points a game. They try to stay in the game with free throws. They do shoot the ball well from that, but you know, here's the thing. This is all going to be about the way this game's officiated. Because the one concern I have with Middle Tennessee is they do foul a lot. I mean that's a big issue with this team, but they're very good on the road, 8-3. They do a nice job rebounding the basketball. They're very good defensively, and that's going to be to me the difference in this game. I believe Middle Tennessee State can get stops. I believe they can score and do things consistently against Marshall. I'm not so sure that Marshall can do all those things, and get stops. I mean, Donnie, in conference, their opponents are shooting 49% against them. That's not good against Middle Tennessee. And you look at it. I mean, Middle Tennessee's won and covered 8 of 10 against Marshall. So for me, 5-1 over the last six games. I have to go with Middle Tennessee. The only caveat I have here, this is really important because this is their best player. This is a guy that, if you ask me my 68 players to watch, he'd be one of them. Forward Nick King, he is their best player. He did have an injury in the last game, went out. He's probable to play tonight. Just keep a lookout. Make sure he's not, in street clothes and warm ups or something like that. And I'll definitely tweet that out as well. But if King's in there, it's Middle Tennessee for me.
Jeff, go a little bit lower conference level. The CAA, our good friends over there. We'll go with Drexel and Towson tonight, live from the SECU Arena. Some interesting matchup here in this ball game. The reason I pick it, it's double digits. We see a lot of these double-digit games, usually in the Power Five conferences, but settling it down. One thing you want to look at in this ball game, Jeff, between Drexel and Towson, what does Drexel do very well at this point? Overall in the season, don't play very well on offense and a sieve on defense, which is going to play right into that 144 total. Line opened up, Jeff, at 13, dipped down to 12 across the board. We got 50-50 betting action here tonight, Jeff. In the CAA, as I said again, it's a lot to cover these double-digit numbers between these two ball clubs. Do you see Towson being able to run away with this game, or maybe an edge to the local boys here in Philadelphia with Drexel?
They should be able to run away. I mean, Drexel's had some major trouble on the road, and you see kind of what happens to a team like Drexel. Maybe early on they might have some success against some of the lower end teams, or maybe even surprise a good team. But then they kind of get into the monotony of the conference schedule, and they kind of realize, okay, we're 7-12, we're struggling, we've lost 4 of 5. I mean, you look at this team in conference. I mean, opponents shooting 51% against them. Which is not good against the Towson State crew that has gotten a lot better offensively. This team's always been a grinded out Charleston type of group where they maybe score 65 points a game, but they really play great defense. This year, they're shooting the ball a lot better. And this team's been on fire lately. 53% over the last 5 games. They're at home. They're facing a team kind of broken a little bit, that plays little to no defense. I mean, that's a major concern with Drexel in this game. And look, I like Zach Spiker a lot. I think he'll improve that program down there. But this Towson team really kind of does a lot of things well. They defend, they rebound, they shoot for at a high percentage. They're good from the line, and they make threes, and they don't turn the ball over a ton. For me, I would. I'm not saying I'm on this game. I know you kind of throw in one of these every time we
Mhm.
do a show, but here's what I will say: I don't know if the over's that bad a play in this game. Drexel can put the ball in the hoop. They're not Delaware or Charleston or something like that. They can score. I think if you can get Drexel to 65 here, I'm confident Towson can get to 80. It might be close, but I think the total's a bit too low. If it's 149, I don't take it. But at 144, I could see it over here. And both these teams are good from the line, and they're efficient from the field. Maybe an over 144 is not a bad play here.
No, it should be interesting. A decent night of college basketball, getting you ready, setting up for the weekend. Jeff, we slide it down here. It's never too early to start looking towards March Madness, maybe the single greatest event on the planet. And I might even like, Jeff, Conference Championship Week or Conference Tournament Week as opposed to March Madness. It's a great month and a half heading up to that first week of April, Jeff. But we want to get some ideas, some sleepers. No longer is Wichita State hanging out with those lower level mid majors. Can they surprise? Gonzaga, St. Mary's heading into the finals there. Let's take a look at some sleepers, Jeff, heading down the stretch. Who can win? Who could do some damage? Maybe not win the national championship, but maybe upset some of these Power Five conference teams, Jeff.
Yeah, and also I'll try to throw in some some futures and some teams that are pretty good against the spread as well. A lot of people have asked me about where would you go in March, and I have a lot of futures already in. I have Wichita in, I have Kansas in, I have Arizona State in, I have Duke in, I have all these different futures in. But I went over three futures here that are 20 to 1 or higher that for me, that's where it presents value. I'm not really into 5 to 1. I mean, I don't really. There's no real interest in that to me. First one, Donnie. We saw them last night, and I mean, if you go to Bet Online right now, you can get this group at 125 to 1. And I think for the truth of the matter, I think it's a great number. Creighton. Uh, this Creighton team is they're really good on offense, Donnie. I mean, and I've looked this team up. I've done a lot of research on them, and I asked myself, what's the flaw that they have? Because when I look at Villanova, okay, I see a team with little flaws. They have a great player to take the game over. They just do everything well. I look at Creighton and I say, where's their flaw? They play really good defense. They have a lockdown defender in Kyrie Thomas. They're extremely good on offense. They're very efficient. They're good
Got
for the line. They
size.
shoot the ball
Yeah.
well. They got good size. They rebound the basketball. They're well coached. Um, I mean, what's not to like about this team? I'm not saying they're going to beat Villanova, and unfortunately, they're just in the same conference. But I don't really care about conferences once we get to the tournament. That doesn't mean much to me at all. In these big conferences, I think conference tournaments are a total waste. I don't really get what we solve by having them. Look, in the Big South, I love conference tournaments, but in a conference like the Big East, so Villanova, let's say they win it. I mean, who cares? They're all going to the tournament. Um, all I'm saying is that this number, I think Creighton has value. That's 125 to 1 is a nice, nice price for a team that I don't see with a ton of flaws long term. And Donnie, the big thing that I like turnovers 11. They don't turn the ball over. That's huge. They have a point guard that can handle the game in Foster. You mentioned their size. They're pretty deep group as well. I like Creighton a lot. They're one team that I would keep my eye on at 125 to 1. Not bad.
No, but you know what? Also,
Another
too,
team.
on the Creighton,
Yeah.
Jeff. Yeah, before you switch over there on Creighton, Jeff. You know what I like when you head down the stretch and get into March Madness. You play in a lot of different arenas, and as you get deeper, you start to play in those Elite Eight arenas, which turn out to be Jerry World. If the three ball is not going down, Jeff, one of the always things I like about Creighton, you can pound it inside, Jeff. Almost 61% they shoot from 2 point range. So if the three ball's not working, Jeff, you can go inside and have certain validity with that as well. I like versatile teams, Jeff. You're right. Creighton's one of them.
And Donnie, what's more annoying when you're backing a team? You know what the most annoying thing is, other than them not making free throws? It's the teams that just cannot rebound.
Yeah.
How many times do you see a team get an offensive rebound that turns into a basket? It
Yep.
happens
Second and
all the
third
time.
chances kills you. Yep.
Yes. Creighton University is number 1 in the country in defensive rebounding. They don't allow offensive putbacks. That's huge when you're playing the Seton Halls of the world, or the West Virginias, or the UNCs. I mean, Donnie, here's what good teams do. Here's what great teams do that win tournaments and win title games. They rebound and make foul shots. There's nothing else. All this offense and defense, it'll work itself out. The guard play, the front court play. If you don't rebound or make free throws, you won't win. It's not going to happen. Yeah, we can try to get basic, we can try to get advanced. Nothing else matters winning games late in the tournament. You have to be able to do little things like that, not turning the basketball over. Good basketball IQ late in games. Remember that kid for Vanderbilt, Donnie? Didn't know they had any timeouts? That
Yeah,
stuff sticks to you.
exactly.
Look at Chris Webber. That stuck with Chris Webber's whole life. You have to have some kind of basketball IQ. And Greg McDermott gets it. He's a good coach. Coaching's important. That's why I don't ever think Cincinnati will win anything, because I don't think Mick Cronin's a good enough coach. He's a head case. He affects his team negatively. I don't think I would love to be a college basketball coach. I don't think I could do it though. I don't have the patience. I'm too brash. I'm too abrasive. I would cost my team games probably. I don't have the sort of uh, like Jay Wright. I don't have that like cool headedness.
The coolness, yeah.
You have to have that little thing. Another team that I'm intrigued by. I don't know if there's enough value at this price. Maybe wait a little bit. The price might even be gone. But I keep going back to this team, this Florida group, and saying to myself, I like what they have going there. And I know they've had a couple tough losses. Yeah, I know they lost to Florida State, and I know they lost to Loyola, and but then I also see that they beat Cincinnati, they beat Gonzaga. They hung in right there with Duke. Should have won that game. You remember they blew that big lead. And you look at lately, really starting to come around. This is what, 7 games in a row they've won. They have leadership at the guard position with Kayvon Allen and Chioza. They don't even have John Egbunu back yet. And Egbunu, Donnie, is a guy that people forgot about, but he's an elite rim protector. He's a guy
Yeah.
that's going to help you considerably on the defensive end. This team can score. Kucherov is a great addition. He's a JJ Redick type of player. You put the ball in the basket from three. We've seen that in games this year. And I think they have that experience. They went in last year and had that run. They have some real good depth. Um, you know, Jalen Hudson, Keith Stone. I like Florida. I think they're an outside sleeper to win the SEC. I think they're just the most complete team, Donnie. And I think when the rubber meets the road, teams like Florida generally advance.
You got a big one versus Kentucky this weekend too, so we'll see what they're made of. Get that test on the road here.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think that's going to be a big time win for them down in Lexington. Won't be easy. And they have a tough schedule. I mean, remember, SEC plays in that Big 12 challenge. You got to throw that game in against Baylor. It's every night very tough in the SEC. But what it does, Donnie, prepares you for the Ides of March.
Mhm.
One
Yep.
other team, this is kind of one I've just throw out. I still think you're getting pretty good value at 20-1 here. I think this team has a real shot as well. They kind of remind me of Florida, just kind of a dependable team. They're well coached, and that's what you look for late in the season. And they have a player that not a lot of teams have, Purdue. Um, I think they're the best team in the Big Ten. They have a guy in Haas that not many people can say they have. And the fact that they have 2 7-footers is pretty imposing on a defense, or on an offense. I mean, they have great guard play. Matthias is a really underrated kid. Those Edwards kids are really good as well. They can shoot the lights out. They really are, Donnie, one of the only teams that are in the top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. They found ways to go on the road and win big games. I mean, going into Butler and winning, going into Michigan and finding a way to win, beating Arizona, little things that they've done, beating Louisville, beating Northwestern, games like that. They can go on the road and win. They can win at home. They can win in other countries. They've really impressed me this year, Purdue, Donnie, a lot. And I like what Haas has done. Haas has looked really good this year. Looks a little bit more brolic, looks a little bit more interested, and it's paid dividends. He's looked real good this year.
No, I second that too because I know you were always down on the big, soft 7-footers from Purdue in those instances. But you're right. And you talk about, winning easy, Jeff, 78-50 versus Wisconsin, 81-47. But they also, the game before that, Michigan winning closely as well, 70-69. So they're doing it at all levels. If they struggle one night, still be able to pull it out there. If you can just blow them out, which is better, footwork. And it shows a team that's not getting bored with itself. Because a lot of times, Jeff, you'll see one of these teams go on a run, win 10, 15 games in a row and just get bored. Doesn't look like that's the case right now for Purdue.
No. So for me, yeah, I would, sleeper wise, I'm looking Florida, Creighton, Purdue. I can still get pretty good numbers. Obviously, Creighton, the best of the numbers at 125 to 1. I mean, that's a nice little that's a nice little payout, Donnie, if you're able to cash. And you have opportunities to hedge as well. All teams that I think can make a deep run. But as we know, Donnie, it's all about just getting there. If you can get there, you got a shot. Um,
Yep, exactly.
we move on, Donnie, and look towards ending the show. Got about 10 minutes or so. We could talk about this episode because I think we're going to have a good conversation on this episode, Donnie. We kind of hinted at it the other day. We were talking about it. One of my favorite episodes. And here's what I'll say about season six in Sopranos. Season six, part one, I felt was a bit dragged out. The whole veto thing and all that kind of thing. Plus, if you remember in the beginning of the season, Tony was in the hospital after being shot.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a long season. And
He was
what
still
I
having
didn't like about
dreams and all that stuff. Yeah, yeah. Yep.
right, and what I didn't like about Sopranos is the one little minute detail that was lame was they didn't go to a season 7. It was season 6A and season 6B, and it was just like
Yeah.
it was just this long odyssey, and it's like we need a little closure between 6 and 7, but they did
Yep.
it in a way which was just kind of drawn out. But we go to season 6, Dottie, the last season of the show. This episode premiered on April 9th, 2006. Season 6, episode 5. It was titled Mr. and Mrs. John Sacramone Request dot dot dot. Basically the original episode was aired around Allegra Sacramone was getting married, John's daughter. Now, keep in mind, John, who at this point is in jail, Don. He's in federal
Yes.
prison on
Yes. Correct.
his RICO and all that kind of thing. And he's looking at a big sentence. So he basically has to get approved to go to this wedding. Now, he has this huge $500,000 wedding planned and basically has to petition the courts to just let him go, like to go to the
Just for a
wedding.
couple hours.
Now,
Yep. Sure.
right, and he basically has to pay for all the metal detectors and all this stuff. And it's funny because basically they go to the church and the line's wrapped around the building, and they literally bring John in like this FBI uh, vehicle with the lights blaring, and he's coming. You see him get out; he's handcuffed. But it's centered around Tony also struggling after surgery. If you
Taking his
remember,
shoes
Don.
off. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he has to take his shoes off because there's some sort of metal being talked about. And they get everybody gets pissed off, and Tony's all mad.
Yep.
So they have the wedding, and the famous line of when they're sitting in the church, and Christopher looks at Paulie and goes, "Allegra, isn't that a cold medicine?" And and Paulie just goes, "It's Italian. It's happiness in Italian." And then Chris goes, "The fuck's that got to do with it?" But it's just a funny banter back and forth. But
Yep.
I think what's so brilliant about the episode is it also outlines the failures that you could have in marriage, i.e., Vito, who they profile. This is the episode where
Yeah.
they find out his secret life, basically. After the
Yep.
wedding, which is a funny wedding. Like they have your John and Tony trying to find ways to talk to each other so the feds don't
With the old
notice.
person table. Yeah. Faking
Yeah,
talking
right,
to him.
right.
Yep. Yeah.
And then the famous thing at the end when basically Allegra leaves like the wedding to like go on her honeymoon. They all go outside and John's literally being petitioned to leave the wedding and he doesn't want to leave because he wants to watch his daughter leave. Basically John begins crying in front of the whole
Yep.
wedding
Yep.
party. And what that does is it basically sets off issues with the rest of the family because Phil and Tony, all of them think, oh my God,
He's gonna
he's crying over
steal.
this. What is he going to
Yep.
be doing in jail? And Donnie, one of the most complete, perfect scenes of the show. is after John begins crying, they go to like all the wise guys are standing around and they're literally talking about Phil. Phil's talking about John. And he's saying like, he's like, if they can get him to do that, what the fuck else can they get him to do? And all this stuff. And Phil makes a comment. He goes something like, um, I'll have to post a scene on YouTube. It was really funny. And then they end up, the wedding ends and Vito goes back home and it's basically him trying to get through his marriage, but on the other side, he's gay. And
Yeah.
he goes to this gay club. Somebody's there supposedly on business. They find his secret out. And this all kind of starts the whole, him going on the run because he's gay and he doesn't want to come out. And it would obviously make a big deal in the family.
Yeah.
But it's a really great episode. I mean, one of the better ones.
Sure was.
Tony passed out tying his shoes. Yeah, exactly. It looked like he did at least.
Carmelo
Christopher
was
was at the
upset that they were treating him that way.
Sure, I would be too. Christopher was at the Clips game with Billy Crystal last night. No shit. Wow.
There you go.
I don't know him as anything other than Christopher. Most of those characters, I
Yeah.
don't know anything else other than Christopher.
They're in a lot
Other
of
than
stuff, but you're
that,
right. He gets stigmatism. He gets astigmatism. He gets a stigma on that. Yeah.
right. And I don't remember what else was he even in. I don't remember anything else he was in.
I think it was in one of those funny movies where, like, what about one of those where the baby mom, not baby, or baby daddy movies or something like that? I think he was in with Turtle, one of those. Other than that, he wasn't in much.
I didn't know that. But also, Donnie, I didn't know this either. Um, Allegra Sacramone, the character.
Yes.
I don't know if you know this, but that's actually little Steven's daughter. I didn't know that.
Is it? How about that?
Yeah, it's a family member of his, which I didn't know. So there you go. A little bit of trivia from Sopranos. Other than that, Donnie, we move on. We kind of ended on a high note. Um, what's everybody got going on today? It's Thirsty Thursday, Donnie, as you would say. Uh,
Yes.
what are you drinking today, Donnie?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what I'm drinking. There's not too much. I'm trying to like save up for the weekend and sort of build because the time is moving real slow right now. Maybe I have to open up maybe a bottle of Ciroc or something like that to get me through. But I'm trying to save it up till Sunday, get that crescendo. Jeff, we don't usually, you wait till Sunday. You can get up, play at 1 o'clock. You gotta wait till 6:40 on Sunday, man. It's gonna be excruciating. You're right. I might need to maybe tap into the alcohol early.
Donnie, real quick, back to Sopranos, real quick. I do remember Chris was in. Remember he was in Goodfellas. He was Spider.
Yeah, that's what Eric was saying. Yep, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. There you go. Yeah, that's one thing I do remember him in. He was in like another movie that I'm just trying to think of. I don't really remember, but yeah, a good character. But yeah, you gotta bust that out, Donnie. Bust out a little Ciroc. Nothing wrong with that. Uh, you know, get yourself ready for the weekend. It's Thursday.
Yeah,
Juanma, what are you doing
gotta
tonight?
keep
Any
going.
plans?
Oh no, man. Just take care
One
of my
mile's
kid.
going down to the barrio. Yep.
No plans. No Hako Beach this weekend, Juan?
No. I don't think
How's
so,
your
man.
daughter doing, by the way? I meant to ask you.
Really good, really good.
Good, good. Always good to hear from Juan Mile. Great producer, one of the best at SBR. Actually, you know what? He is the best at SBR. Great stuff, Juan Mile. We end the show on this, Donnie. We'll be back tomorrow, Friday. A fun episode planned. Eagles galore, Donnie. Make sure you have your Eagles gear on.
I will.
We get you ready
Yep.
ready for the playoffs. And Donnie, Blackjack Fletcher will join us at 10:40. He'll come on, chat a little bit about his life and how things have been going for him. He's a new guy in the business, but he's doing some nice things so far. We'll get him on to chat about the playoffs and see what he's got going on. And we'll give our picks out tomorrow, our picks for the NFL games. And yeah, have some fun as always here on the right side of campus. We'll end it early. Everyone have a great day. Thanks for tuning in today. We hope you enjoyed the show. Donnie, what else do you have? Anything to leave the viewers with?
Yeah, I'll be at the dentist this afternoon if anybody wants to know and come hang out. Always a lot of fun for me, Jeff.
Now, is this a cleaning or what?
It's
What
a
do you got
cleaning
going on?
today. Yeah. Yep. Cleaning today. Don't
Yeah, I
have to
actually
get
have
my teeth drilled. No crowns, no fillings, no nothing. Hopefully, I'm just
good.
in and out and can get home. Yes.
Good. Yeah, I got to go. I actually got to go next week. So good call. Good call. Always a good trip to the dentist.
Mhm.
Everyone have a great
Yep.
night. We will see you back Friday, 10 o'clock Eastern. Have a great day. Bye bye.